Have you ever really stopped to think about the 12 disciples? I mean, not just their names, but what a strange group they were. Jesus could have picked anyone, the smartest, the most powerful, the most influential people of his day, but instead he chooses this ragtag bunch of regular guys. And you know what? That wasn't a mistake. It was totally on purpose, a powerful statement right from the very beginning. So let's dig in and uncover the real logic behind this very unconventional team.
So right away, we're hit with this central puzzle. Why them? He picked fisherman, a tax collector everyone hated, a political radical, and yeah, even the guy who would end up betraying him. I mean, if you were building a dream team, these guys wouldn't even make the list. And that, as it turns out, is the whole point. This decision tells us something absolutely crucial about his mission, his message, and what his kingdom is all about.
You see, to really get how wild this was, you have to understand how things worked back then. In the first century, if you wanted to study with a rabbi, the pressure was all on you. You had to prove you were good enough. You'd go, hat in hand, hoping you had the right background and knowledge to even be considered. But Jesus, he just walks in and flips the whole script. He doesn't wait for people to come to him. He goes out and finds them, looks them in the eye, and gives this personal, powerful command, "Follow me." This was a revolution from day one.
Now, the first big clue in his grand strategy is the number itself, 12. That wasn't just pulled out of a hat. For the Jewish people, the number 12 was huge. The entire nation of Israel was built on 12 tribes, right? From the 12 sons of Jacob. So by picking 12 men, Jesus was making this massive statement. He was basically saying, something new is starting right now. A new covenant, a new people, a new Israel. And these 12 guys, they're the foundation.
Okay, so he's got his symbolic number. But the real fascination, the part that gets me, is who he picked to fill those 12 spots. He didn't go looking for superstars with perfect resumes. No, he chose underdogs, outsiders, and the people everyone else just overlooked. I mean, take Peter, a fisherman, a working-class guy with rough hands. And he was so impulsive. He was famous for speaking before thinking, for acting first and asking questions later. I mean, he made some huge mistakes, but Jesus looks right past all that at this flawed, fiery guy and says, "You are Peter, the rock, and on this rock I will build my church." He saw solid potential where everyone else just saw, well, a mess.
And then there's Matthew. Wow. As a tax collector, he wasn't just disliked. He was a total outcast. He worked for Rome, the enemy, and his own people saw him as a traitor getting rich off their backs. He was the last person you'd expect a holy man to even talk to, let alone call. But Jesus just walks up to his tax booth and gives him that same simple invitation, "Follow me." And this just screams one of the core messages of his entire ministry. Nobody is beyond saving. Nobody.
Okay, and this is where the genius of his plan just blows my mind. In the exact same group as Matthew, the guy who works for Rome, Jesus put Simon the Zealot. Now, the Zealots were hardcore revolutionaries who wanted to violently kick Rome out of their country. They literally wanted to kill people like Matthew. Can you just imagine the awkward silence at dinner? Jesus intentionally brought sworn enemies into his inner circle. This was a living, breathing picture that his kingdom works on a whole different level, a level that smashes our political boxes and turns enemies into family.
So he chose a symbolic number. He chose really unlikely people. But the single most important reason, the absolute heart of his whole strategy, was about putting one thing first, before anything else.
This verse right here from the book of Mark, this is the key that unlocks the whole mystery. Just listen to the order. It's so important. First, that they might be with him. Then, that he might send them out to preach. The relationship came before the mission. The connection came before the work. Their number one job wasn't to do a bunch of stuff for Jesus. It was simply to be with him. And this shows us his entire method. It's so simple, but so profound. Step 1, be with him. Step 2, go and preach. For 3 years, they just did life with him. They walked with him, ate with him, and just listened. They saw how he treated people on the margins. They saw his compassion, his patience, how he prayed. Everything they would later do and become was just the natural overflow of the time they spent just being with him. So here's the bottom line. The big takeaway. Jesus wasn't looking for an already qualified team. He was building one from the ground up. Those 3 years of just living life alongside him, that was their training. That was the qualification process. He wasn't looking at their resumes. He was choosing them so he could totally transform them for the mission ahead.
All right, now we have to go to the toughest part of this whole story. The one piece that has really bothered people for centuries. The fact that he intentionally included the man who would betray him, Judas Iscariot.
It's a haunting question, isn't it?
I mean, if you knew from the very start that one of your closest friends was gonna sell you out, why would you pick him? Why would you give him a seat at the table and make him part of your inner circle? It just seems like a massive flaw in the plan, but it wasn't.
As this verse from the Gospel of John makes crystal clear, Jesus was not caught off guard. He knew. He said it himself, right out loud. The betrayal wasn't some unexpected tragedy that threw a wrench in the works. Somehow, it was actually woven into the plan itself.
And here is the absolutely shocking, divine logic behind it. Just follow the dominoes. Without the betrayal, there's no arrest. Without the arrest, there's no trial. Without the trial, there's no crucifixion. And without the crucifixion, there is no resurrection. God, in His wisdom, used the single worst act of treachery in human history to bring about the greatest act of love the world has ever known.
Now, this is one of those deep mysteries where God's ultimate plan and our human free will meet. Judas made his own choice, and he was 100% responsible for it. And yet, God was able to weave that awful free choice right into His master plan for saving the world. It's a staggering thought, really, that even the absolute worst of human evil can't stop the purposes of God.
So, okay, we've looked at the history, the symbolism, the theology of it all, but what does this ancient story have to do with you and me, right here, today? Why does this choice, made 2,000 years ago, still matter so much?
If you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this right here. This single idea is the legacy of the 12 disciples. It pretty much sums up the entire strategy. And you know what? It's a message of incredible hope for every single one of us who has ever felt like we're not good enough, not ready, or just plain unworthy.
I mean, just look at the results. Where they started was not where they ended up. Peter, the guy who publicly denied he even knew Jesus, becomes this fearless leader of the early church. Thomas, the one who doubted the resurrection, becomes a courageous missionary. John, who is so hot-headed they called him a son of thunder, becomes known as the apostle of love. Their transformation is the ultimate proof that the process works.
And that's where this whole story lands right in our laps. The story of the disciples just shifts the question entirely. It tells us to stop asking, am I good enough? Am I skilled enough? Am I ready for this? The real question Jesus asks is so much simpler. It's just, are you willing? Willing to follow Him, willing to learn from Him, willing to let Him change you.
These 12 ordinary men said yes, and they literally turned the world upside down. They weren't perfect, not even close, but they were available. They left everything behind to answer a call, and simply being with Jesus changed everything. So, the final thought I'll leave you with is this. If that is what He did with their yes, what might He do with yours?